Hello, I'm June Edwards, and this is Senior Topics for the week of March 1st. And you'll see I'm all dressed up. I'm recording Sunday evening. I just spent a couple hours over with a 103-year-old World War II veteran, and I'm still in my DAR shirt. Let me show you. Here, see where it says DAR Mojave chapter. And I just got back and I'm so excited about it. Before I begin the class, I wanted to tell you where I was and show you a picture here on my phone. This, see if I can get it up here for you. This is retired Major Dinsford, and he was a pilot during World War II. Here he is in his garage. He's just watched a 30-minute parade, and I'm giving him a golden certificate of happy birthday wishes on it. The fire department came out and paraded by his house, police on motorcycles, 12 to 14 Marines came and gave him a new medal, and many, many other people. And I want to show you, this is what he looked like during World War II. See if we can get the camera to really get the picture. Isn't he a handsome fellow? And he was a pilot. And here he is with his plane. And he fought in the Pacific arena and dropped a lot of torpedoes. And he survived all that. And he didn't really want to talk about it too much. He came back and spent another 20 years. Here he is. Looks like he's laughing. Doesn't have a care in the world, and yet he had such responsibility with that airplane behind him. I don't know what kind of airplane it is, but maybe some of you do. 103 years old. This is the flowers, and they made a little picture memorial for him in the garage. And he's left by now. He got very tired, so they had the caretaker take him back inside so he could rest. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. So I wanted to start with that patriotic gesture and tell you he lives in Placentia, and not too far from one of our Placentia nursing facilities and senior residences. And it was just a wonderful time of celebrating with his family and friends and community, and congratulating him for his wonderful outlook on life. He has had both his vaccinations, and he was ready to take on the world. His birthday was tonight, February 28th. Now I'm going to go on and talk to you about the first week of March and what our calendar activities are. And I'm hoping to end this program with a video. Now, if I can't put it on this recording, I will send it separately to your facility, and it goes along with celebrating our National Anthem Day, which comes towards the end of this week. Okay, so looking at March 1st, Justin Bieber, who's a pop star, was born in 1994. March 1st is the anniversary of the Peace Corps. It's National Pig Day. It's Peanut Butter Lovers Day. It's Share a Smile Day, and it's the day that Yellowstone National Park was established in 1872. Did you realize that Yellowstone, one of our first national parks, is even that old? My goodness. March 2nd is when Dr. Seuss, the famous children's author and illustrator, was born in 1904. It is also Read Across America Day, and I don't know if the teachers are going to do this through their Zoom recordings or how they're going to do it. March 3rd is National Anthem Day, where we celebrate the proclamation of making the Star-Spangled Banner our national anthem. It is also the day that inventor Alexander Graham Bell was born in 1847. March 4th was the first meeting of the United States Congress in 1789. March 5th is the anniversary of the Boston Massacre from 1770. It's also when Mem Fox was born in 1946, another pop person. March 6th is the Iditarod race up in Alaska. It goes for about 1,000 miles, and it's an obstacle course over the frozen wilds of Alaska, still in the heart of winter. And they use dog sleds and huskies, and they try to see who can make the best time over a very difficult course. Oreo cookies for sale. They were sold for the first time in 1912. Artist Michelangelo was born in 1475. On March 7th is National Cold Cereal and Hot Cereal Day. It's when the scientist Luther Burbank was born in 1849, and the telephone patent was first granted in 1876. Boy, have things changed. And then March 8th is International Women's Day. So that's it for our calendar. It's pretty full. Not as full as February, but it's still got a lot of things to think about. I want to go back to February 26th and mention Tell a Fairy Tale Day. Remember, I told you that some of the ones from last week had to wait till this week. There's just so much to share. In what were once oral histories and myths and legends told around a campfire or by storytellers or jesters in the courtyard have now become written down. Where would we be without stories such as Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, The Little Mermaid, and so many, many more? Most traveling storytellers told fairy tales with a lot of dramatic detail. Some of these stories, most of them, had basis in truth. For example, some believe that Marguerite von Waldeck, the daughter of the 16th century Count of Waldeck, inspired the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The area of Germany where the family lived was known for mining. Some of the tunnels were so narrow they had to use children as miners or small people, such as dwarves, to work the mines. Marguerite's beauty was well documented, and it made her stepmother jealous, so she sent her away. Marguerite also, historically, fell in love with a prince, but unfortunately, did not have a Disney happily after. She mysteriously died before she could marry the prince. As the fairy tales have evolved, they've taken on a more magical quality with fictional characters like fairies, giants, unicorns, mermaids, and gnomes. And sometimes they had what we would call gruesome story plots, where somebody's head's cut off or toes are cut off to fit into a slipper, a wooden boy killing a cricket. The Brothers Grimm collected and published many of these stories. So many of them, they didn't think in those days that they were that gruesome. Today, we'd be horrified by some of the fairy tales they told, but they did it to establish moral lessons and to teach children why they needed to behave. The Brothers Grimm collected stories, Jacob and Wilhelm, and the tradition of oral storytelling was fading in the early 1800s. In 1812, they published their first volume of fairy stories called Household Tales. Rumpelstiltskin is one of the stories they collected. Now, their versions of these stories were meant for adults, and they had very, very dark undertones to them. Another person was Hans Christian Andersen. Now, he was from Denmark and he published in 1829 stories like The Ugly Duckling, The Princess and the Pea, The Little Mermaid, and many more. And his stories were much sweeter and warmer and definitely wanted children as the audience. So, how should we have observed Tell a Fairy Tale Day? Share fairy tales with your grandchildren or with your friends. Be dramatic, dress up in a costume. Now, there's another day that slipped by us. That was the one that would have been celebrated the last day of February, National Science Day. But unfortunately, we do not celebrate this in the United States. This is celebrated in India, and it's to spread a message about the importance of science in the daily life of the people, including technology. Now, it started, we're not sure when, but we know it's been going on. And it is named after a famous Indian physicist, Sir C.V. Raman, like ramen noodles, Raman. And he received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1930 for his work on connecting energy and light fragments together and using energy in light to explore qualities of new objects, whether they're gas, liquid, or solids. Now, different themes of national science have been this. The year of 2006 was Nurture Nature for Our Future. 2007, More Crops Per Drop. 2008, Understanding Planet Earth. 2009, Expanding Horizons of Science. Skip over a few. 2011, Chemistry in Daily Life. 2015, Science for Building Our Nation. 2018, Science and Technology for a Sustainable Future. And 2020, Women in Science. This year, the future of science, the impact on education, skills, and work. And because of the pandemic, so many of the schools have been shut down, and the children are not getting the quality of science education that they normally get. But let's hope that changes next year. How do they celebrate it? They have science fairs, they have many, many different kinds of competition, and they have something they call Science City with rides, and it's kind of like an amusement park. They have public speeches, radio, TV, science movies, and science exhibitions based on the theme. So let's hear it for National Fairy Tale Day and National Science Day. Moving on into March, March 2nd, coming up, Dr. Seuss's birthday. And we know about him from The Cat in the Hat and Thing One and Thing Two, and many, many of his colorful books. He was born March 2, 1904, in Massachusetts. His father was a successful brewmaster. He left home to attend Dartmouth College and became the editor in chief of the humor magazine Jack-O-Lantern. Later, he attended Oxford University in England and wanted to become an English professor. But you know how life has a way of changing our plans. He fell in love with Helen Palmer and married her in 1927, and then he had to get a job to support her, so he dropped out of Oxford, and the couple moved back to the United States. He decided to be a cartoonist because of his great artistic talent and his sense of humor. And his articles and illustrations were published in Life and Vanity Fair in the 1920s. Later, he used the name Seuss because his last name was really Theodore Seuss Geisel. But people didn't know him as Mr. Geisel, they knew him as Dr. Seuss. He worked for Standard Oil in the advertising department for 15 years. But then he had a challenge. Viking Press offered him a contract to illustrate some children's books. And so he did that for several years. But what was the challenge? Well, Life magazine criticized how boring the children's reading textbooks were and how children did not have a very high standard of reading ability. That was in 1954. You know, we think things are bad now. Well, people have always been criticizing and striving educators to step it up a notch and continue to get better and better. So they challenged Dr. Seuss to write a children's primer using only 220 vocabulary words. Well, Dr. Seuss was up to the challenge. Not a problem. What was the name of the book? The Cat in the Hat. And I'll bet you I'm going to introduce that to my 6-year-old grandson. And I know he's going to love the illustrations, love the crazy cat and the thing one and thing two, and all the crazy characters. And he will actually be improving his reading, which he needs to do. The success of Cat in the Hat cemented Dr. Seuss's place in children's history and in books, writing books. And you know, he wrote many, many more books throughout the years, some using his new simplified vocabulary style to encourage and entertain children with reading. And then he also used some of his older, more elaborate vocabulary in other books. Some of his books include Green Eggs and Ham, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And you know, The Grinch was made into a film in the 1970s, and it was remade into a film with a recent author or actor, I should say, and that came out in the 2000s. Well, he died in 1991 at the age of 87 in La Jolla. But after he died, his widow, and he had remarried at that time, his widow discovered other manuscripts. He has several unfinished manuscripts, and periodically they come out with a new one. And they're going to publish, or they did publish just a couple years ago, What Pet Should I Get? And that came out after his widow found manuscript and sketches in the couple's home scattered in his study. Also, the Art of Dr. Seuss project was launched in 1997. Today, you can get limited edition prints and sculptures of his unusual artwork. I've got a few pictures to show you. This is the cover and an illustration from What Pet Should I Get? And it shows the Cat in the Hat, and it shows other thing one and thing two and some of the others that have been involved in the publishing of that book. I also have a photo of him taken before his death in 1991, and I wanted to show you. This is him in his La Jolla study. He and his wife had purchased a property called the La Jolla Tower, and that's where he did his best writing. I have a funny poem called Savoring Dr. Seuss. I'm looking for the name of the author. No, the author's unknown, but I'm going to read it to you just to give you a feel for his wording. Whew, excuse me. Well, that wasn't part of the poem. Okay. I will not read Green Eggs and Ham. I will not read it, Sam, my lamb, for I have read it here and there, and I have read it everywhere. I cannot read it anymore. I need a book with something more. And while we're at it, bid adieu to Tigger, Eeyore, Pooh, and Roo. I'm tired of animals big and hairy, of Maurice Sendak and Richard Scarry. I don't think that I could look at another cutesy nursery book. But wait, don't turn and hang your head. Don't shuffle off so sad to bed. I do not mean to cheat you so of what you love, so please don't go. I'm just venting my frustration that I haven't read a book since the Bush administration. But now it's time for you, not me. I'd miss your precious infancy. Today you're 2, tomorrow 4, and soon you won't ask me anymore. So climb on up, dear child, and bring some Seuss, your blankie and your cup of juice. And we both know how this part goes. You'll snuggle down and start to doze. In truth, you know, my fate's my joy. Sleep sweet, small lamb, my little boy. How many times have you read to a child, a small child, and they fall asleep all cuddled up to you? But you know, it's just wonderful. And I do want to show you some of the more modern art from Dr. Seuss. I've got just a few. We don't really have self-portraits of him, did very few. But here are some abstracts that you can get a look at. Here's 3 of them. You can see they're very fanciful. And that was his mind. That was his the way that he did. He also drew other kinds of things in pen and ink. He drew Horton, the elephant, and all kinds of things. Let's see. Oh, and here, this was during his Art Deco period. I love this. Look at this. I can show you some of his work here. You can see, and these sell for a lot in limited editions now. He had painted books and many other kinds of art as well. Such a unique man. Now, in closing, I want to talk to you about Anthem Day. You know, the Star Spangled Banner started as a poem written by Francis Scott Key during the War of 1812. He was on a British ship and he was negotiating for the release of his friend, Mr. Beans. And he was successful in negotiating his release, except the British troops would not let them off the ship because they knew that these Americans had found out their battle plans for bombarding Fort McHenry. So they were forced to stay on the ship and endure a very long night. When Mr. Keyes looked over the railing in the morning, he expected to see the fort in total devastation. But you know what? It was not. It was standing strong, and the flag was still up there, waving and flapping in the breeze. And he was so inspired, he started his poem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming? And he goes on and talks about the stars and the stripes and how it's still standing. And I have a wonderful video I want to share with you. It's on YouTube. I'm going to send the link to your activity directors. I'm going to encourage them to use it at the end of this. Now, I'm going to see if I can share the screen. You'll just give me a minute. A selection, or here we go. This is what I want. Yes, I want to go up here. I want to go into this. Let's see if I can show it. Optimize screen. Still learning how to do this, guys. Let's see if I can show it. Here we go. You ready to see this?
My name is Tori Altman, and I'm an educator at the National Museum of American History, which is part of the Smithsonian Institution. Located in the heart of Washington, D.C., this museum is home to a collection of over 3 million objects, each with its own unique contribution to American culture. In this series, we're going to be going behind the scenes to see some rarely seen objects and to hang out with the experts who protect and preserve these fragments of U.S. history. Oh, say, can you see, by the dawn's early light, the Star-Spangled Banner? Some people sing it beautifully. Others, not so much.
Star-Spangled Banner.
Whether you're a scholar of U.S. history, or you've just been to a baseball game, your life has been touched by America's national anthem. The origins of the Star-Spangled Banner go all the way back to the Battle of Baltimore, which was a key turning point in the War of 1812. Hunkered down in Baltimore's Fort McHenry, American troops withstood a 25-hour bombardment by the British Navy. The Brits actually fired over 1,500 cannonballs during the course of the battle. When the sun rose the next morning, an American poet named Francis Scott Key peeked over the deck of a ship 8 miles from the fort, expecting to see total devastation. However, much to Key's surprise, what he saw was the fort still standing strong and the American flag still waving proudly above it. This sight inspired Key to write the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. After this victory, America would go on to win the war, and Key's song would go on to become our national anthem. Today, you can come see the exact same flag that Key saw, the Star-Spangled Banner, here at the National Museum of American History. We keep the flag safe in a special environmentally controlled chamber. Being over 200 years old, the flag must be protected from light, from dust, and, the ravages of time. Here in the Textile Lab, conservators work to preserve America's most precious relics. And that is where this comes in. You might be wondering why I'm holding a tattered piece of cloth in what looks like a cardboard box. Well, the truth is that the Star-Spangled Banner used to be a lot bigger, but over the last 200 years, people have literally cut out pieces of the flag for their own use. So to find out more about that and about the flag as a whole, I'm down here with Suzanne Thomason-Krause, who's the chief conservator on the Star-Spangled Banner project. Hi, Suzanne. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining this afternoon and letting us know a little bit more about the project. So can you tell me a little bit more about these fragments in particular and why they're separated from the flag and what they can actually tell us that the flag itself can't?
Well, the pieces were removed and given to people who were seen to have done service to the country or who were family members and regarded it as a precious relic of their family history. What it tells us over time is when early pieces were removed, we can see what the condition was and what soils were there and which ones might be historic and which ones are just modern dirt and debris that has deposited. And then with the ones that were removed later on, we can see how the flag was aging at the turn of the century and how it is today, and we have a better scale of how quickly it's deteriorating.
Great. So I bet that some of these fragments have some really wonderful stories that go along with them.
Well, we do know that the family really regarded it as a treasure by how carefully they preserved it. We also see things that came down through people who were very fundamental in the history of our country, such as Dr. Hogue, who was the first director of the U.S. Forestry Service. We also have a wonderful little miniature where the tiny little fragments about the size of your thumbnail were actually folded into the shape of a triangle like the flags are when they're presented in the military.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing these stories and for spending some time with us this afternoon.
It's been my pleasure.
Excellent. And thank you for joining us behind the scenes at the Smithsonian. We'll have more episodes coming up, so definitely check into our YouTube channel to see what's new. And in the meantime, follow us on Twitter at AM History Museum. Until next time, I'm Tori Altman. Have a great one.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. It's my first effort at sharing a video on a Zoom with you. Thank you for your patience as I'm learning a new skill. And I just love you to pieces, and I so look forward to seeing you in person in the future. So I want to say goodbye. Our time is up. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Can you believe it's the first week of March already? Most of us are getting our vaccines. They say our country is going to have full herd immunity. So that's a good thing. And we're going to be relaxing some of our lockdown measures. Bye, everybody. See you next week. Stay safe.